Well, hello everyone. I am here by myself. Amber's still back in Florida. I think yesterday was opening day for HHN 30, so she was there. I'm over here at the Johnson Space Center over here in Houston, Texas. I'm really excited. This is one of the places that you're able to see the mission control room, so I'm really excited about doing that. But if you are new here, hello, hi, and welcome. Welcome to our channel. Thank you for stopping by. We are Echo Travel Adventures, and we do try to post every Tuesday and Thursday. So we have over 329 videos. If it interests you, definitely look at a few other channel or other videos that we have. And if you'd like to, please subscribe, hit that bell notification. Please like and comment on this video, and thanks for stopping by. We hope you enjoy this video. So that's actually the original limb. That is so awesome. It's a replica of it actually, but it's just their actual size. This thing is pretty impressive. I actually thought it would be bigger. That's crazy. So I'm sitting over here waiting for my tram tour to start. I get to go into, ready? The mission control room for the original Apollo mission. That is always so cool. So just waiting for it to open up. Masks are required for the tram and for inside. But this place is pretty neat. Still waiting for everything to kind of slow down a little bit. There's a lot of people. But again, I got 17 to 30 minutes. Now you can't reserve your tram tour unless you are actually in here. And it's like geo-fenced, so you can't do anything. So yeah, so when you're here and you get checked in and everything, you go into the app and then you reserve your tram tour. There's no flash photography, but you can record and take pictures. I'm really excited. I mean, I'm not a big nut about it. Oh look, right here, mission control. That's what we're about to see. Anyway, really excited. Just waiting. We've got 30 more minutes, and then you'll see us on the tour.
Alrighty folks, at this time we're about to head on the tours. Please remain seated while the tram is in motion, and Alice, work with you. We are now departing Space Center Houston and beginning our journey to Johnson Space Center, one of 10 NASA field centers in the heart of human spaceflight operations for the past 50 years. The land that JSC sits on was previously owned by Rice University, who gifted the land to JSC in 1962, all 1,620 acres of it, for $20. Prior to that, a Mobil oil company, now known as ExxonMobil, owned the land, which was mostly farmland at the time. And if you're wondering why it was $20 for all of that land, government agencies cannot accept gifts. Some transaction has to be made, and it's a lot more complicated than just handing a $20 bill for all that land. But whatever they had worked out in the end, it came out to around $20 for 1,620 acres. Must be nice. speaking of farmland, if you're looking to the left side of the tram into this pasture, more than likely towards the stables at this time of day, you're going to catch a glimpse of the gorgeous creatures that we have here, our Texas famous longhorns. And we get the question all the time, why does NASA have a bunch of cows? Number one, they're called steer, they're not cows. Two, we're teaching these guys to jump over the moon. I just think that'd be utterly ridiculous. This area is used for students who join the Future Farmers of America program, or FFA, to where they can come here and learn about science and agriculture. They also have a lot of biology lessons to local schools in those buildings around the stables. In fact, I grew up in this area. We used to go there for biology lessons all the time. It was actually a really cool experience. But George Abbey, the center's director at the time, was looking for ways to get back to the community whenever he came across an old photograph of a longhorn grazing on this very land. So he worked alongside with local school districts and various partnerships to create what we know as the Longhorn Project. And coming up on our right side, inside this large white building, before I continue on, this tour that we're on is a little bit special in of itself. It will not be making a stop here at Rocket Park, but if you would like to visit Rocket Park, we do have another tour that goes to the astronaut training facility as well as Rocket Park. But this particular tour won't be making a stop here. That still won't keep you from stopping and talking about the rocket, but if you can see the painting on the side of the building, I'm going to quote a famous alien that some of us might know. It is a lot bigger on the inside. It stands at 363 feet tall, which is 60 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty and about 100 feet taller than the original Godzilla. And if you've never seen the Saturn V rocket in person before, let me be the first one to tell you that absolutely nothing can really prepare you for what is sitting inside this building. Also, as an added bonus, it has pretty great AC. In addition to the Saturn V, we have two rockets that sit on the lawn of Rocket Park to the right side of the tram. But the skinnier rocket with the black and white and the red missile on the top of it is called the Mercury Redstone. The Mercury Redstone was created in response for Russia sending up their first cosmonaut, so America wanted to send up their first astronaut, but NASA really wasn't established and there wasn't a real rocket. So they had to use the Army's ballistics program, which is the Redstone program, hence the name of the rocket, and they converted a ballistic missile into a rocket. Then they approached Alan Shepard to ask, "Hey Alan, how do you feel about being strapped to the top of a ballistic missile and launched into space?" He thought it sounded like a great idea. So they strapped him to the top, shot him about 100 miles above the Earth's surface. He stayed in a suborbital flight for about 15 minutes before coming back down safely, making him the first American astronaut up in space and the second human being up in space. And next, they wanted to make sure that astronauts had some kind of reliable safety net during the launch. So the rocket sitting on the yellow stand, the slightly larger of the two, is ironically called Little Joe 2. And this rocket tests a total of 5 unmanned missions between the years of 1963 and 1966. Those unmanned missions were used to test out the dependability of the Launch Escape System and the Command Module's parachutes. The Launch Escape System, or LES, are those missiles at the very top of all the rockets here at Rocket Park. Even the Saturn V inside the building has its own. For future reference, any rocket that is similar to that design with a capsule, which is pretty much everything except for the Shuttle program, you will see that missile at the top. And it's only used during the first few minutes of the launch. And I'll use the Saturn V for an example. It is only useful during that first stage. If it has not been used during that time, it is just considered dead weight and it will be ejected from the rocket. But if something were to go wrong during this time and the crew's eyes are in danger, it is designed to automatically activate. It has the perfect weight to thrust ratio for that specific capsule, so it can pull it off the rocket, and at that altitude it will take the capsule to a higher altitude to allow the parachutes enough time to deploy and fall safely into the ocean. Once again, our tram won't be making a stop here at Rocket Park, but if you would like to see Rocket Park, you can get onto one of those blue tours to the astronaut training facility and Rocket Park. Rocket Park is one of my favorite spots at Johnson Space Center grounds, so I do talk about it a lot because I do like to hype it up. It's one of my favorite places. Now I'd like to officially welcome you onto Johnson Space Center grounds. As you look around today, it is a weekend. Most government officials have the weekends off because some of them work so hard. So it's going to be pretty empty today. There's about 14 to 15,000 employees that do work here on a daily basis whenever the world is normal. So these parking lots are usually jam-packed full. To start things off, let me talk about Building 17 to our right side. Building 17 has several jobs, one of which is housing the Orion Project Office. Orion is the space exploration vehicle that's going to carry our astronauts back to the moon with the Artemis program, if the timeline goes smooth enough, by 2025, and it will lay the foundations for our future astronauts to take the very same spacecraft onto Mars, projected to be sometime in the 2040s as of right now. Coming up on our left is going to be Building 21. This is the Human Health and Performance Laboratory. Inside, scientific teams are dedicated to optimizing human health and productivity for space exploration before astronauts launch and after they return from space. Basically, what that wordy sentence can translate to is Building 21 is kind of like a doctor's office for the astronauts. The building itself has a lot more responsibilities. For example, checking out the results of the experiments they do on the International Space Station and a lot more. But for the astronauts, this building is rather important, especially for those check-ins, and especially the one that they receive whenever they return from space. Microgravity does take a toll on the human body, and our astronauts go through a ton of changes whenever they go out to space. But the majority of these changes are very minor and goes back to normal whenever they return to Earth. A few examples being their spine elongating anywhere between 2 to 3 inches. This is why this build the spacesuits a couple inches taller so they can grow into it. A little fun fact about that, you can do this experiment yourself, the same thing could happen to you here on Earth. If you go to sleep flat on your back at night, you're laying horizontally, so the gravity is kind of spreading your spine out a little bit, so you're about an inch or two tall in the morning whenever you wake up. You will go back to normal by the time the afternoon rolls around, so you're not tall for very long. But the astronauts, they do go back to normal as well. It just takes a little bit longer for them since their spine has been elongated for quite a while, for the 6 months that they stay up there. Another change they can go through is the fluid in their body flowing up to their face, which can change the shape of their eyes. It can also affect their vision. This is why they keep an extra supply of reading glasses on board the space station. Those are just 2 out of the many examples I can give you, but their major concern is the 2% of bone density and muscle mass lost for every month out in space. This doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that does add up over time. And this is why they only stay on the space station for 6 months. It's kind of manageable. The reason why this is such a big issue is because that bone density loss is permanent damage. That is not something they can recover from. This is why they've been doing extensive research on this particular subject, to either completely get rid of this degradation or significantly reduce it down to where it's not even an issue for those future astronauts, especially for the ones that are going to be making that trip onto Mars. As of right now, that trip is going to take 9 months to get to Mars and 9 months to get back. And they have to wait for that window of opportunity for Earth and Mars to be closest to each other, which only happens once every 2 Earth years. So they're going to be out of their mission for over 3 years. With everything added up, that is a little bit over 70% of bone density and muscle mass lost. This is why this has to be figured out before we send anybody into deep space. We do not want our astronauts to return from their mission as just sacks of ordnance. And now to lighten the mood a bit, we are approaching our stop on our tour today. If you look up ahead and slightly to the left, you can see the building's named Christopher C. Kraft Jr. Mission Control Center. This building was named after this gentleman. He is considered the father of mission control. He invented a lot of what we're going to see inside the Apollo Mission Control today, and he is the original flight director. Before we head inside, I just want to make this warning now. There's going to be a whole lot of rules set up for this building. As a mission, this is a mission-critical building, and it's still very much an active facility today, and they definitely closely monitor our groups going into this building. So once we enter the lobby, we're going to have to take a minute or two to go over those rules, so just please bear with me at that time. But first, a few things from the trams. As we're pulling up to the building, just remain seated until we come to a full and complete stop in front of the awning, and then we'll exit to the right side of the tram and the right side only, which will be the building side. Before you officially walk away, just please look back at that blue and white row letter just to give yourself a refresher so we can return to the same row of the tram without having to bother each other to be sat with. And I'll be coming from the back of the tram. Once I make my way to the front of the group, you guys are going to follow me inside the lobby where we'll go over those rules before we head upstairs. But in all seriousness, I want to personally thank you guys for choosing the Apollo Mission Control Tour today. If you didn't realize it, we didn't regain access to this building until a little bit over 2 months ago, so you're one of the first few people who've seen this room since it was closed down to us last year. So again, I want to personally thank you guys for taking this time to choose the Apollo Mission Control and seeing it today. I'd also like to especially thank the folks who were around to witness this for themselves all those years ago. And if you were to ask them about it, they remember every single little detail about it. What time it was, where they were at, what color the sky was, even what color their underwear was. They remember everything about it. And I'm kind of honored and privileged to be a vessel of sorts to help deliver this experience to you guys. And some people have been waiting all of their lives just to see this room. So again, I want to personally thank you guys for taking the time to choose the Apollo Mission Control Tour today. And that being said, you may have not realized it, but earlier this year, July 20th, we actually celebrated the 52nd anniversary of Apollo 11 landing on the moon. That means over 50 years ago, they strapped 3 human beings to the top of a rocket and launched them into space. So human beings actually left this rock that we call our home onto another celestial body. The very same celestial body that every single human being who has ever lived on this planet has looked up at least once in their life. They did that on 8 megabytes worth of memory. That is 3 to 7 digital pictures nowadays. At each and every desk in Mission Control, we have, and there's over 20 positions, we have 4 terabytes each and every desk just to control the space station. We have made leaps and bounds since. And these folks were frontiers for their time. There was no other mission control. There was nobody prior to them that sent anybody else to the moon. They did it by themselves. And if it wasn't for folks like them, not just NASA, I mean all space agencies around the world, if it wasn't for those folks, we wouldn't have a lot of what we take for granted for today, especially the power that we carry around with us in our pockets. They would have killed to have 1/10 of the power that we carry around with us, and even occasionally on our wrists. And if you didn't realize it, this is a very much an active facility. I did mention that they had current mission control going on, but there's actually a total of 5 flight control rooms in the building, and they can control the International Space Station 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year, and 7 days a week, of course. This is a building that never sleeps. In fact, if there's anything in the area, such as a hurricane, where the surrounding area has to evacuate for it, the folks that work at Mission Control can't miss work. So for those days, they have to bring in pillows, blankets, mattresses, food, clothing, whatever they can to sustain themselves for those days, since they have to continue to work. It is not easy for them to miss. And there's only a handful of people who can do that job at each and every desk. At the most, 12 people around the world. And it takes about 4 to 6 years to train somebody for that position. This is why this is a mission-critical building, and why we're extremely limited on the amount of tours that can go to this building. But you guys made it onto it. I'm very happy to help you, give you guys this experience, but nowhere else in the world you can have this experience. And before you pass by the building, look to the right side real fast, and take a closer look at this black wall. You may notice it looks like it's missing some tiles, which was actually done on purpose. What you just saw is a genome of it's basically human DNA. It is a genome. So, all human DNA, roughly 99.9% the same. It is that 0.1% that makes you a unique person. But of course, there are millions and millions of differences from each other, since we are all bipedal colonies of trillions and trillions of microorganisms. Microbiologists like to call the human body a living mat, or a biological system, since we are just filled with all kinds of ingredients. And since the building is dedicated to designing the human body and the effects of micrographic has on it, they thought it'd be fun and appropriate to put a human DNA map on the side of the building. And you may have spotted that deer that was running along the side of the road. If you haven't seen any since we began our tour, keep your eyes peeled for more. Johnson Space Station Wildlife Preserve, we actually have more than 250 tagged deer on site, as well as rabbits, turtles, bobcats, alligators, snakes, owls, anything that you can possibly think of that lives in this area, you will find living peacefully here on Johnson Space Station grounds. At least as peacefully as wildlife can live with each other. But we even have endangered species on site that Johnson Space Station takes care of, such as prairie chickens. If you haven't heard about them, that's probably a good reason. Starting back in 2005, before they started taking in these birds, there was less than 50 of them in the wild. But they were given to Johnson Space Center to help raise them, and then they go to other bird sanctuaries around the world. Since 2005, their population have grown in the thousands, and they continue to help these birds out, and other animals like them. And once again, we're not making a stop here at Rocket Park, but this is my favorite spot on Johnson Space Center grounds, so please forgive me as I gush about this ride. And if I didn't mention it, this is not a pocket. It is a mixture of Apollo 18, 19, and 20. These are all Saturn V pieces that never got to fly for the Apollo program, due to world events that were going on, which ultimately led to budgeting issues. And they had a budget from Apollo 11 all the way to 20. And they were working on the rockets Apollo 18, 19, and 20 before the mission had to officially end. But it was week before 17 got to launch whenever they found out they lost the rest of the budget. So it wasn't until a few months later, in 1973, they decided to gather the first two stages of Apollo 18 rocket and use that to launch Skylab into orbit. That was the last use of a Saturn V before they went on to the Saturn 1B, and shortly after that onto the Shuttle program. So these pieces sat around for the next few years until 1975 rolled around, and they decided to gather all the functioning pieces for a Saturn V rocket and bring it over here from a barge from Louisiana and set it up outside as Rocket Park. Unfortunately, this rocket sat outside from 1975 to about the year 2000. They left it unattended and it almost rotted away. There were pieces of it falling apart and just laying on the ground. Virtually no paint was left on it. Animals were living inside of it. Really sad to look at. And a lot of people in the area felt the same way. So a lot of locals and organizations started donating money to the cause of bringing this rocket back to its former glory in the year 2000. And by 2002, they completed the building around the rocket. As it passed by it, you can look and see there's no garage doors big enough to drag it into it. And they restored it to make it look exactly the way it did when it was brought over here back in 1975. And there are 3 Saturn V rockets on display in America today. But this is the only one out of the 3 that has all real pieces that is considered flight certified ready if it is outside for all those years. Which is why I like to call this particular rocket the last dinosaur of its kind. And again, you can check out Rocket Park. You can take a blue tour out to the astronaut training facility where you'll see spacecraft, vehicles, and robots that get the astronauts on. For the second stop will be Rocket Park, where you can stay in this location as long as you'd like.
So what they were saying on the tour is that this is a real life plane, and this shuttle is a replica that we can actually go in to. It's not the same. It's what they use, the astronauts use to train on. It's pretty impressive though. This is pretty cool. Inside the flight of the shuttle. So this is the mid-deck. This is where I'm assuming this is where they have a lot of the cargo and all that kind of stuff. So right here is the Falcon 9 from SpaceX. This is the only other rocket that you can actually see up close, other than the SpaceX headquarters. But this is pretty awesome. As you know, Amber and I have seen a number of rocket launches since moving to Florida. And then over here, you have the Independence Plaza where the Independence Space Shuttle and plane are. And then the main entrance is right over here. So we're gonna walk back in. I want to see if I can get on the blue tour and then kind of go from there. It's actually been pretty nice. And as with most things as an attraction, you have the gift shop. So take a look at some things that's in here. Then I think we're going to head. The blue tram is up for right now. I don't want to wait around for it to open back up. So here it is. A lot of NASA memorabilia. They do have some Apollo stuff. Like right over here. For the 50th anniversary. Also, so they got stuff over here for kids. They have some snacks and drinks. And then some other stuff over here. It's not a big one, but it's not so bad either. So that concludes our trip over here to Johnson Space Center. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know there wasn't a lot of me talking, but it's just there was so much to see. There's a lot of things to kind of do more for like B-roll and all that kind of stuff. But the actual mission control room was awesome. I highly recommend it. When you are in Florida, definitely go to Kennedy Space Center. I think it's a lot of joy. I think if you like the space history, I think that'd be an awesome thing to do. But if you made this far, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for checking out our channel. If you are new, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification. Please don't forget to like and comment on this video. We'll definitely see you guys next time. Bye, guys.